that Meek's album, it sold for it sold not like 92,000 records this time around, compared to Championships that did like 200 and over 200,000 records. I think it was like 280,000.
I'm not mad at Expensive Pain selling that much. I think that's a good number for Meek and kind of where he's at in his career, as far as what you would figure an artist like him would sell. So I'm not necessarily mad. Now, as far as what that means, as far as like his success goes and what's not, I can't even fucking speak tonight. As far as what that would mean,
man.
No, not even. As far as what that would mean for Meek Mill's success, I'm not sure. But I think that is good numbers for what I would figure he's at.
Yeah, to me, I think this isn't. I think this is bad for me. Like to me, I think this is a flop.
What were you expecting him to do?
I was expecting him to at least do 150, 175. No, this is a flop.
I don't think so.
This is a flop. I mean, you sell 228,000 copies in your last album, and the follow-up album, despite putting out other stuff that he was putting out EPs and records and singles every now and again, and people were biting for more. You sell 228,000 your last album, and your next album does less than 100,000. That's a flop. It's good.
Kanye just did 300, right?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
If Kanye's doing 300, I think 92 for Meek is all right. You know what I mean? Now, could it be a little higher? I'm not saying that it can, but I would expect them to be somewhere in the 130 range.
To me, I can't say that, because to me that's like, because now we're putting him below the pocket of like, based off album sales right now, based off Lil Baby, based off Moneybagg Yo, like we're putting him below them at this point. Like at that point when he's selling less than 100,000, he's pretty much fighting with like the G Herbos and the Lil Durks of the world at this point. Well, and I wouldn't even say Lil Durk, because I think Lil Durk is on his way up. He's fighting with the guys that are like Baby Keems probably.
So we know where we hold Meek at, right? Like in the structure of this whole rap thing, right? In the hierarchy and whatever.
Facts.
And he's not one, while Lil Baby's a star, he's not. Meek Mill he's been around for a bit of time. You know what I mean? So we don't really hold him on that level. Excuse me. However, what I would say is that at this point in time, the stardom of Lil Baby is a little higher than Meek Mill's, I would say, on a general popular scale. Lil Baby is a big selling artist. You know what I mean? So I honestly would expect Lil Baby to have higher numbers than him, whether they're fixed, whatever the case is. I think Meek Mill selling right around 100 is about right. Could he have sold more? Yes. I don't think this is a bad showing for Meek, though.
I disagree, man, because I agree on the point. I do agree on the point with Lil Baby, right? Where yes, Lil Baby is a new coming artist, while Meek has 10 years. He has at least a decade in the game on the main stage, right? So I agree there, but to me, it's also that thing of like, okay, you're in the space of legacy acts, right? At his echelon, for his echelon as a legacy act, the numbers should be higher to me. And that's the thing, because even if it's a Kanye, Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole, I wouldn't even say that. Like, I mean, at this point, I guess his numbers would be competing with someone like Big Crit at this point.
Well, I mean, if we're being real, and this is no offense to Meek, he's not any of those artists. You know what I mean? Like
he's not. And they're not him.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, because he's not those artists, I don't expect him to do what those artists are doing. You know what I mean? So it's like at some point in time, and that's not to say that Meek can't sell more with a further album, further out in his career, I would say. But like, I think at this point in time, that's just where he's at, and that just is what it is.
But see, I agree. Clearly the numbers don't lie, and it shows this is where the marketplace puts him. I agree there. My thing is, though he's not any of the artists I named, I think most people, it's safe to say, like from in terms of street artists, he was that guy for street artists at one point. And when Meek Mill went to jail, a lot of music didn't sound the same for street music. Like, I mean, granted, we had your Yo Gottis, you had your Futures, you had like, and I don't even want to use like Gucci Mane or Jeezy or nobody like that because they're older acts.
Right.
But like, you had street artists, but let's be honest, in 2010, like in the 10s, Meek was one of those guys that was closer, more at the forefront for street artists. And he was one of the highest selling street artists at the time. He was one of the highest selling artists during his run with his peers who are of that echelon that I named. Kendrick, Cole, Drake, they're all in he came in with under the same echelon as them. He was on the same echelon as them. He was on the same playing field. He has songs with all of these artists. They all came in the game at the same time. They all came and rose to ascension around the same time at different parts. And some may have dropped lower than others. But let's be honest, you know how big of an artist has to be. For 3 years ago, they sell 225,000 copies their first week. That's not easy. And streaming was still out then.
You're right.
Like, I think no. But he ended up he had a great, like, 225,000 is not gold, but that's a lot for an artist definitely 3 years ago. So
here's what I'll say, right? I listen to Championship since we've talked about the Expensive Fame album. And to me, that album is the quality of this album and the quality of that album are two totally different things. You know what I mean? Right. So when you put out an album of that quality and you have the name Meek Mill, you would hope you will sell a lot of records. And I mean, obviously he did well for himself. The number was 225, which I didn't know that. But that being said, though, I mean, we get back to like, all right, we talk about the Kendricks, Coles, and Drakes, but it's like even like the Big Seans of this generation or that generation, I should say, don't get the same praises they do. You know what I mean? And like, while he might be able to sell records as well, like any artist, pretty much any artist behind those like top 4 or 5 spots isn't really guaranteed to do anything because I feel like they all fluctuate to a certain degree.
Yeah, I agree. Like, they do fluctuate. I guess to me, at the crux of it is, I look at Meek, I have somewhat of a similar respect for them as I do for Meek, because though he's not them, he's them in his arena. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he deserves respect.
Yeah, like, and I mean, in terms of like street artists, he is like, I mean, I think some of your top artists today, in terms of like the younger generation, Meek Mill is one of those guys. Whether it's NBA Youngboy, who said his name partially comes from listening to Meek Mill, whether it's Durk, who puts Meek Mill as his number 1 artist of all time, like, and all that fall in between. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, the landscape now has this is where the marketplace puts you at. And if this is where the marketplace puts you at, I'm very curious to see how his next pieces will come out, because I think when you sell 200-something thousand records, your last album, I think anybody would say, yo, this next album is going to be, even if it doesn't hit 228,000, this next album should at least crack 150. 175, so it's the margin isn't so crazy. But when it doesn't do over 100,000, I'm very curious to see what happens, because I highly doubt the same amount of money that was being poured into him is not going to get poured into him for this next for his the follow-up album. Granted, he's putting out a extendo pack to this, which is like a deluxe, which I wish people would stop doing deluxes at this point. I probably won't listen to the deluxe album because I just don't like deluxes at this point. But yeah, like, I don't know. I think it says a lot. It says a lot. And to me, it says a lot, and it doesn't say a lot of good in terms of like the reception. I think it in terms of the sound, which I'm not surprised, but if you follow Meek on IG, I've been saying this to some of the people in my groups. Yo, I don't know how I was on the fence with the album before it came out because of the snippets, because I thought it was going to be completely auto-tune-ish, and it wasn't. It was good, but hey, I think we're just going through that age where we're finally seeing what happened to our favorite artists as kids happen to the artists that we lived through. and when I are lived that their music lived with us as we went through life.
His album Expensive Pain is and that's it.
Well,
I'm
you don't
sorry.
really. Well, I mean, you don't really listen to rap, so I can understand.
I don't really listen to rap. I don't really listen to rap. That's crazy.
But hey man, you predicted that you think Durk could actually sell less albums in his next album compared to what academics thinks, right?
So
academics put out a post predicting that Durk is going to sell 150,000. You're like, he might do 60. He might do 60. He might do 60. He might do 60.
I didn't even say that. I think it's possible. So the question came up tonight. Hey, what do you think about this post? Right. So, you know, one of us said that he might do like 60 or something. Yeah. I said
it was just me and you that gave out numbers, bro.
No, it wasn't.
Go ahead.
Said
finish your narratives.
My lies. I said that Lil Durk should sell somewhere between 70 and 90. I don't necessarily think that's bad. I mean, seeing as Meek just did 90, I think personally, Meek is a bigger artist than Lil Durk. Maybe at this point in time, you can say they're close in popularity, like they're right around where each other is at. But it's like at the same point in time, I don't think he's going to sell 150. I think that number is high. I just don't see it happening. But could he break to 100? Yeah, I wouldn't even be mad at him for it. I just don't see it happening. I think he sells right around where Meek sold, not a little higher.
Yeah, I think he sells more than Meek in his next album. Personally, to me, I think Durk does at least 120 in his next album. Granted, like I'm not sure. Just because y'all waited too, I don't know what the reception was in terms of sales, but I do know The Voice. It came out, and this is why I say this, because The Voice, right? Its first week it only sold like 23,000, but in December, its second week it sold 66,000. So it is one of those weird anomalies where, hey, yo, don't put out an album at the end of the year, because this kind of may show why fourth quarter drops were not a thing at one point.
Well, I don't think they should be, personally. I think history has shown that you just have less of a chance of success if you're dropping in the fourth quarter, because I think it just goes where everybody's around their families. They're not necessarily worried about like keeping up with just the outside world. They have like so much stuff going on within like their families and whatnot. Now,
unless you're like a Drake or a Kanye, or if you're like a Drake, Beyonce type of caliber artist, I think you can pull it off.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, Beyonce is the one that really got the ball kicking with this. Granted, I mean, Childish, I think because the internet came out in December as well.
Yep.
But like Beyonce did the surprise album on a Friday, which wasn't done yet at that time. In December, it was in December. She had dropped that surprise because that was I forget the album it was, but it changed the way music came out, because before music was being released on Tuesday still. She dropped the album on a Friday, a surprise album, just was like, yo, album out now. Everybody went crazy. And next thing you know, they went from Tuesday to Tuesday to Friday to Friday. So like, if you're a certain caliber artist, I think it works. But like someone like Durk, I don't think it worked. And I think The Voice kind of showed that, where your first week it does 23, your second week it does 66. So you're roughly around 100. You pretty much in your first 2 weeks you did 100 practically. Now let's say you take away you add the hype that he has now, over 120,000 copies, or it was like over 100,000 copies. It was like over 100,000 copies of The Voice and The Voice of the Heroes did. So between that, the features, and like I've always said, this has been Durk's year. He's been having one crazy run. He's probably been one of the most popular, not most popular, but one of the most consecutive features we've heard throughout this year of 2021 on everybody's song. Very similar to what we've seen with other artists out here as well, but at the level that he's at. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like I can see him doing at least 120 between the hype that's around him He's got some of his old work is going platinum now. He's getting accolades off his prior work, which means people are still streaming what he's been did. Also, he's having success commercially now, and he's pretty much this is the biggest he's ever been. This is probably the biggest he's been in a while, and it's probably the biggest he's ever been in terms of the staying power. I feel like now he's arrived at a point where he's going to have staying power.
Well, the way I see it is like this, all right? While you were talking and whatnot, I looked up the numbers for The Voice and the Heroes, and that looked to do 165 in his first week, and that was Durk and Lil Baby. If they're doing 165 with Durk and Lil Baby, then I would assume that number has to be split in some way, shape, or form when they're coming out. So I'm going to stick with my prediction right around 100. And I think that's good for him. There's not
right around 90. Don't say it right around 100.
Right around 90.
70
right
to 90.
Around 90. Yeah, right. That's what I feel. If he does more, congratulations. I'm not going to be like, damn, he shouldn't have did that. Like, no, like, congratulations if he does more.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations if he does more, which I think he will. Like I said,
you're the fan of his. You should have faith in your artist.
Hey, man, you like The Voice more than I do. So what does that say?
I like still trapping.
Hey, you like The Voice more than I do. I probably listen to The Voice maybe once or twice, if that.
All right.
I'm serious. Just because y'all waited too is probably I prefer that project more. So like I listen to 248 every week. Hellcats and Trackhawks, I believe that's off the OTF album compilation thing they did.
Oh, that's your man.
But, yeah, I mean, I listen. If I like the music, I like the music. Hey, you love Lil B, and he's more talented than Lil B.
Hey, shouts out to Lil B, man. Legend in the game, yo.
Yeah, curse Hill Jackson. Bass God, curse to Hill Jackson, please, Bass God.
Nah, he might send me a blessing. You never know. He might. I can't even get into what he might send me. I don't want to do that on the show.
Yeah, hey man, maybe you may have to send him something.